Watch this.
This bill will have significant impacts on our community and families in this state.
Well, that was kind of the point, wasn't it, of Idaho's immigration bill, which is now law and which is also now heading to court. Big Brother is watching, but for how much longer? You may be surprised to learn the license plate on your car is being tracked, but by whom and why?
Music connects people. It's a great way to just, express your emotions and just let go.
You know, we've introduced you to a lot of forts, but the juiciest, spiciest, tastiest goes to Food Fort. And Chef Boyardee, do we have a treat for you? We have a famous chef from Hawaii who connects people and emotions through food.
I think for the same reasons that the Texas-style law was challenged in the courts and is still being litigated, this bill will be challenged.
Well, those constitutional concerns have come to fruition. Moments after Governor Brad Little signed the Immigration Cooperation and Enforcement Act into law at 9:10 this morning, the ACLU announced it was filing a class action lawsuit against Idaho's Attorney General and 13 county prosecutors across Idaho. They filed this lawsuit on behalf of a farm worker advocacy group, a nonprofit law firm, and 5 anonymous non-citizens. House Bill 83, as it used to be called, is a combination of 2 bills from this session. Basically a compromise to be more cooperative with the federal government instead of taking over some of its duties, because after all, immigration is a Fed thing. However, it gives local law enforcement the authority to check for immigration status of someone accused of a crime. Not just in a traffic stop, it has to be something of, serious content, but they can then share that information with ICE. Being undocumented in Idaho would be a misdemeanor under this law. Re-entry would be a felony. And it creates a new crime of trafficking a dangerous alien. And instead of deportation, Idaho would then just transport an undocumented person to a federal detention facility. The lawsuit claims the law, which went into effect immediately this morning, is unconstitutional, overstepping a state's role by stepping into something that is supposed to be the purview of the federal government, and it violates the Commerce Clause by restricting movement of people and commerce between states. Oh, and they say it's also vague. There are similar lawsuits over similar laws in other states like Texas, Iowa, and Oklahoma. All of them have injunctions in place preventing the enforcement of them. Those behind this lawsuit claim House Bill 83 won't make anyone safer, since non-citizens were already subject to deportation if they were convicted of a crime. However, this law can be applied, quote, when a person is detained or investigated for suspected commission of a crime.
What this new law does, it encourages state and local law enforcement to intervene in immigration enforcement when a person is accused of a crime but not necessarily convicted. This, by definition, means that it is not targeting criminals.
Just targeting those accused or suspected of a crime. Ruby went on to say it's clear this bill is racially motivated, clearly targeting the Latino community in Idaho.
Lawmakers are aware this will only affect people who do not appear to be white. They openly admitted it.
Well, at least one of them did. Remember when this was being debated a couple weeks ago in the Senate, and Senator Brandon Shippey wanted to be sure this law wouldn't be applied to certain religious groups who are anti-government. Therefore, they don't really have any government documents.
How would they differentiate, I guess, in these situations? These people are as white as I am. I don't know if that. So I don't know. Hopefully.
Could barely get through that. Remember that? Well, we did reach out to Governor Little today to ask him about signing this bill, but we were told he was not available. It's likely because he's in Sun Valley for the World Cup skiing event. His office sent us a statement, though, that just says House Bill 83 is consistent with his executive order earlier this year to crack down on illegal immigration. He did make a couple of references to President Trump in here and something about deporting those who pose the greatest danger to our citizens. Well, in addition to filing the lawsuit, lawyers asked for an emergency temporary restraining order, something that could be decided today to keep it from being enforced, and an injunction to keep it from being enforced longer than 14 days. Well, that hearing is coming up in 2 weeks. There's also a rally in opposition of this law that's scheduled for this Sunday afternoon at 2 on the State House steps. Well, cameras are everywhere. They're in our pockets on our phones and in our homes, on our homes, shooting out in the street, and they're also in the skies. like these from ACHD, which keep an eye on the traffic all across the Treasure Valley. But there are other cameras, I should say, that are out there being used to track license plates. They're at stoplights and they're on the streets. But you might be curious, who's looking for this information that comes from tracking your license plate? And what are they allowed to do with it? Well, Idaho lawmakers want to know that too, and maybe control it a little bit. And they also want to change how many license plates some people are required to put on their car. Hunter Funk explains.
Senate Bill 1180 has passed the Senate.
Now heading to the House, the bill came with a lot of debate. So let's bring it back to where it was brought up in committee.
And fire away.
Senator Doug Okonowitz introduced the bill.
So today what we've got for you is a license plate reader bill.
Breaking it into two parts. The first section puts up guidelines for passive license plate readers. These are cameras at intersections recording and collecting data. So this bill controls who has access to the information.
In the state of Idaho, any political subdivision of the state.
Which would include law enforcement, city and county agencies. It also outlines it can only be used for official purposes.
Investigation of felony and misdemeanor crimes or traffic accidents or search of missing and endangered persons, for example, can't be used for, well, anything else.
The city of Boise, though, is concerned the language of the bill wouldn't allow the city to conduct surveys or to enforce code.
This would eliminate any use from code compliance or city clerk's offices that are actually using it for different types of parking things, whether it be at the airport, whether it being used for city employee parking or even parking around the city. City of Boise is not the only one who uses this technology for parking as well. It's used in municipalities across the state.
Okonowitz argues cities would still be allowed to use it because they're an authorized agency. Ask the Sheriff's Association about their thoughts on this part of the bill.
That's great because it mirrors our own policies.
But the second part of the bill, which would eliminate the requirement for putting on a front license plate if the vehicle lacks a front license plate mounting bracket, that's the part they don't like.
We are looking for license plates all the time to find suspects in all kinds of crimes, from robbery to DUI would be one of the biggest one that comes to mind. You can't identify a car that's traveling away from you nearly as easy as one that's coming towards you.
Those in favor argue new cars don't always have front brackets in place. Despite both the city and the Sheriff's Association asking for amendments, the majority voted in favor.
Vote carries by voice vote.
Sending the bill out of committee and onto the floor.
Senate Bill 1180.
Similar debates took place by senators, but despite the concerns, 25 voted in favor and 10 against.
Titles approved. The bill be transmitted to the House of Representatives.
Okay, so there were two other questions brought up about the bill. How much time agencies could hold on to the data that the license plate reader collects, which isn't included in this bill. And what if people decide to rip off their front license plate mounting bracket? This technically, Brian, would be the loophole, meaning everyone wouldn't need a front license plate.
Yeah, it doesn't make that determination, does it?
Correct.
Because again, a lot of these new cars, we get this question all the time. More and more cars out there without a front license plate, but there's just no place to put them on some of these new cars.
I will say I bought my car in North Carolina because I was there at the time, and I haven't had a mounted bracket. I've had mine actually sitting in my windshield, which you're supposed to put it on because that's the law.
That's the law, but this would change that if it goes through.
And the bill sponsor also says, if people are seeing that loophole, we'll fix it later.
Okay.
So.
No bill is perfect, we're told. All right,
Yes.
thank you very much, Hunter. All right, well, speaking of license plates, Idaho is about to see a few new choices when it comes to specialty license plates. Pay once, get 2 plates. You can put it on the front or the back. Whether you want to or not is up to you, as we just learned. In 2020, Idaho put an end to any specialty license plate that didn't financially benefit the state of Idaho. They could use the old ones, but creating any new ones, that just wasn't going to happen anymore. They did this, by the way, just days after denying drivers a Too Great for Hate license plate that would have supported the Watsma Center for Human Rights. That bill, that license plate, did pass the Senate, but it failed in the House, and just barely. Well, since that limit on specialty plates was passed, we haven't seen too many attempts at creating new ones. I mean, they tried the Too Great for Hate plate back in 2023, and then last year they passed the Don't Tread on Me plate, but this session we've seen 5 come through the State House. 3 have been signed into law so far, meaning beginning in July, you'll be able to adorn your Acura or Audi with world-famous potato plates, like old school ones. Either white on black, as you see there, or teal on white. The black one from the 1950s, I think the white one from the 70s or 90s, I'm not sure which. Both are going to cost you $70, with $25 going to the Idaho Potato Commission and $45 going to ITD. How about this? Feeling a little revolutionary? How about an Appeal to Heaven license plate or a Don't Tread on Me plate? The update on the No Step on Snake plate will now be available to vehicles over 26,000 pounds. So yeah, truckers, which means, yeah, eastbound and down with tyranny. Meanwhile, the USS Idaho specialty plate has passed the Senate, but is waiting for a full debate in the House. This one will be just available for 5 years and would recognize the 5th USS Idaho Navy ship, a Virginia-class nuclear submarine expected to be commissioned into the Navy this spring. Oh yeah, there was also another attempt at a Too Great for Hate plate. Well, that one has yet to get a hearing in the Senate Transportation Committee.
It's the connections that I've been able to forge through food and I continue to forge. Just meeting everybody here in Boise has just been fantastic.
And you could possibly forge a connection with this champion chef tomorrow night at Food Fort. Come hungry, leave happy. All right, what would we call the 208 if we were part of Tree Fort? Let us know what you think. Just text us and also include your name and the hashtag the 208. That way we can share yours at the end of the show. Well, Tree Fort Music Fest is in full swing. Today is day 2 of the festival, and while music is the main attraction, of course, Food Fort, though, is dishing out Boise's growing culinary scene for all to savor. Food Fort is just one of the many forts you can check out at the festival. Each year, they try to add some out-of-state talent to the mix. This year's Food Fort is bringing headliners, brings island flavors from nearly 3,000 miles away, giving Boise a little bit of a taste of Hawaii. As Aspen Shumpert found out, this won't be the first time this chef has cooked up delights for an audience, as she's been cooking on camera for years.
Sometimes we call ourselves the gateway drug to Tree Fort. People come and eat the food, and they're like, oh my gosh, there's all this stuff going on in Boise.
Amidst the guitar riffs and drum solos, there's another art form stealing some of the spotlight in downtown Boise.
You have music, you want to have food, there might be some beer or cocktails thrown in there too.
For Dave Yasuda, director of Food Fort, it's all about showcasing local talent, while sprinkling in some special spices.
We try to do a mix of dinners, of opportunities to dine, and then also have demonstrations and talks.
Boise's culinary reputation is now boiling over, putting the city on foodies' menus.
We've had James Beard Foundation Award semifinalists, and even we've had 2 finalists and 1 winner. I think 10 years ago, we really didn't see that. You know, chefs are artists too, and if whether it's a simply beautifully made taco, or if it's an elaborate dish that has multiple levels and everything that's going on, that requires the mind of an artist.
This year, Food Fort headlining chef is a surprise that'll have food fanatics doing a double take.
Well, hi, aloha.
Chef Leanne Wong was on the first season of Top Chef, has judged on Chopped, and currently battles it out on Guy Fieri's Tournament of Champions.
I still keep one toe dipped in TV, but I enjoy living out in the middle of the ocean.
This week, she's bringing a taste of the islands to Food Fort.
Food and music are the 2 best reasons to come together, honestly. I love listening to music in the kitchen.
Wong owns Cocoa Head Cafe in Honolulu, which just celebrated its 11th anniversary. And it specializes in creative brunch dishes.
I'd say just tear off the stem. Boise is a landlocked state, and we figured bringing something that people don't really get to have that often was the best move forward to introduce our food to the Boise community. We are going to be featuring this beautiful Hawaiian fish.
And it's one thing to eat their food, it's another thing to have them prepare it and hear about their sensibilities.
We're here to spread the aloha.
Thank you.
She's also having golden Maui pineapples that she'll be using during the festival that were grown a mile down from where she lives, she tells me. There are still tickets up for grabs for Chef Wong's fish demonstration, which is happening tomorrow morning at the Avery if you want to learn how to prep the fish and get a little taste of it.
Okay, she's obviously well-traveled. Has she been to Idaho before?
This is her first time in Idaho. I did ask her that, but she does have somewhat of a local tie. The Snake River Farms meats, she actually has used in her restaurant when she does some of the finer dining meals.
Nice.
So she was able to catch up with them and actually enjoy some mashed potatoes when she first arrived here.
Exactly. All right, go straight to the source.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Aspen. All right, well, we don't really have any major professional teams. We have professional teams. They're minor league when it comes to baseball and hockey in Idaho. But we do have a high-profile sport to talk about in today's 411. Here's Abby Davis with more on that.
Professional soccer is officially coming to Boise. This morning, crews broke ground on the new soccer stadium for Boise Pro Soccer. The project is transforming the former LeBois racetrack into a premier sports destination. Once finished, the 27-acre state-of-the-art mixed-use sports park will also be home to several other fields for various sports. Boise Pro Soccer signed a 30-year lease for the stadium. The goal is to have the men's team playing in Boise next year.
Having a good performance on the final race is always really special.
Two-time Olympic gold medalist Michaela Schifrin took home gold today in the women's slalom race to cap off the Alpine World Cup in Sun Valley. The 7-day event wraps up tonight, but Sun Valley is hoping they can host again in 2027. Bad news for a different kind of extreme sports. Boise Whitewater Park kayakers and surfers have to find a different place to enjoy their hobbies. The park announced it's increasing the flow of water today and tomorrow by 500 cubic feet per second each day. This will make the water unsafe, so they recommend everyone stays out of the river. And that's the 411 on the 208. I'm Abby Davis.
Here's a call out for any 411 on the 208. We'd love to hear your stories from your community or anything else about today's show. Text us your ideas, your thoughts. We'll take a joke if it's good. And of course, send it to the number on your screen, 208-321-5614. As always, please include your name and the hashtag the 208.
if you love beautiful cloud formations, gorgeous sunrises and sunsets, we likely have many more of those coming our way as we are set to stay active and unsettled for days to come. And hey, you know what they say here in Idaho, right? If you don't like the weather, you wait 15 minutes or maybe 24 hours, and that is certainly the case today. At this point yesterday, we were tracking record-setting warmth across the region. Boise hit 81 yesterday, only the fourth time ever in the month of March we've seen the 80s. It's still been a pretty comfortable day, but we lost the sunshine and lost the extreme warmth. But 73 is still warm for the month of March. Twin Falls sitting in the mid-60s. Sun Valley at 61 right now, even McCall at 50 degrees. Of course, the other big difference, you can see those ominous-looking skies. They've been around for most of our Thursday, and they have led to some isolated showers. No thunderstorms in Idaho that I have seen yet. We had a few lightning strikes, rumbles of thunder over the Baker City area earlier this afternoon. So far in Boise, things are quiet. I'm seeing a band of showers right here over the last 30 minutes or so that has developed, moving from southwest to northeast, heading across the Fairfield area, the Magic Valley, heading for Sun Valley. This is very light rain, could even be just some virga that's falling from the clouds and evaporating before it hits the ground. Wouldn't be surprised as the sunshine is starting to break through in some spots now. We may have a couple of isolated storms bubble up. We still have a very unstable atmosphere, something to be mindful of if you are headed out and about this evening. If maybe you're making plans to head to Treefort for the last several hours tonight, it'll be warm, it'll be a little bit unsettled, and it's going to be windy. Sustained winds right out of the south right now at 26 miles per hour in Nampa and Caldwell, a 17-mile-per-hour breeze in Boise. These wind speeds have actually backed off quite a bit over the last 30 minutes or so, but still think about that when you're planning the hairstyle out there. But all in all, your evening looking really nice. We should see a partly clear sky. Temperatures stay in the 60s until about 9 o'clock tonight, and then we dip into the 50s and 40s by tomorrow morning. All right, the culprit behind our rounds of active weather, still this big, broad area of low pressure that is sending a lot of precipitation across the Pacific Northwest and will continue to do so for Friday and Saturday. Sunday ends up being our mostly dry day, and then another system replaces this one, comes in by Monday and brings us a lot more wet weather as well. And temperatures will cool in a big way. We cooled today, we'll cool even more dramatically tomorrow as a cold front comes in late tonight into early tomorrow morning. So your Friday, a high of 57 degrees. That's it. For some reference, this morning, our low was 54. So if you were out early this morning, get used to that feeling, because by Saturday, that is our high temperature of 54 degrees. We have a chance at some storms tomorrow afternoon. We'll likely see off and on showers tomorrow. Plan accordingly. I'd take the hooded jacket as you're out and about. Saturday, a couple showers, maybe some storms. Sunday, we're up to near 60 and we dry out. And that next system rolls in Monday. That will bring more rounds of active weather, and temperatures moderate in the mid-50s.
Hey, we're back. All right, here we go. Let's get to some comments for today, this Thursday. Dave in Eagle has this to say. Wouldn't have mattered if the governor was around to comment on the immigration bill and the signing it into law. He doesn't listen to the public anyway. Remember House Bill 93? That's the one about the parental choice tax credit bill that now allows public money to go for private education. The Trump administration has emboldened the legislatures in this state to write unenforceable laws and push their agenda at the expense of the taxpayer, says Ray in Cuna. That's kind of his thought. Where does the money from the specialty plate "Don't Tread on Me" flag go? Well, that's a good question, Pat. It goes actually to the State Board of Education, where they have a firearms safety committee, and that's kind of where that money is going to go so people can learn to be safer with firearms. So if you buy one of those, that's where it goes. Considering the special license plates, how about this for a specialty plate, says CP and Star. Everyone is welcome here. That would cause some chaos in the state legislature. Probably goes about as far as the "Too Great for Hate" license plate as well. Just sit in committee for a bit, think about what it's done. All right, how about we got some names for possibly what we'd call the 2-8. This one, Ty in Boise. Truth Fort. Okay, appreciate that. That's a good one. Need to Know Fort, says Deb. Also a good idea. This one, I think the last one is, let me see, there's a combination here. Larry says, call yourself Truth News Fort. He just kind of combined them. Truth News Fort. It's a lot. It's a lot to say. We'll see you tomorrow.
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.